What it do? Welcome to Club 32, the Gridiron Podcast, the people's podcast where we keep it real. No fluff, no filters. I'm your host, Ron, and I came back to recap the matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. Final score, the boys had 30, the Redskins had 23. So let's dive into it. But before we do, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can stay in the loop with Club 32. Well, let's go. Jumping right into it. Appreciate you for coming through and being a part of the show as always. Can't wait to see you on here personally. We can chop it up one-on-one. The Cowboys snapped a 3-game losing streak on Christmas Day, turning a sloppy start into a gritty but much-needed win to keep their season from slipping further. Dak Prescott put together a poised 307-yard, 2-touchdown performance, but his mid to late game efficiency dips still leave questions about some of his consistency. But despite being out of contention, the Commanders played with an unexpected fire in the second half, highlighting what Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is, capable of. A few of those explosive runs that he was able to get off, almost threatening the comeback that flipped the whole script of how the game was going. But, Dallas's aggressive approach on fourth downs early set the tone and kept drives alive, showing a culture shift under Brian Schottenheimer's command that, things may be able to work as they build in the offseason and moving forward. They have definitely a lot of holes on their defense that they want to tighten up and find a way for that energy to be able to match the energy of the offense, because the two have not been on the same page throughout the entire season. And even with the playoff hopes gone for both of these NFC East teams, this rivalry maintained its intensity as we would expect it to. And Dallas avoided ending this Christmas weekend with a loss. Hey, Merry Christmas to the boys. Dallas exploded early, scoring touchdowns on his first 3 possessions and building a 21-3 lead by mid-second quarter, a differential that ultimately insulated them from Washington's second half surge. The Cowboys dominated possession and they found balance, while Prescott, while some of the passing that he did got headlines, the Dallas, they rushing attack, they put out 211 total rushing yards by themselves, led by Malik Davis doing 103 on his own. Washington's running attack, was led by, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He put up 105 for 2 tugs. He found lanes in the second half and nearly overcame a double-digit deficit, illustrating that physicality can wear down Dallas's front. Or maybe it's just too late in the season and them boys ready to go home. Dallas's defense, they was giving up in the second half, surrendering on the ground and in the air, and allowing multiple score drives that kept Washington within striking distance. But Washington's inability to convert late in the game, including that failed fourth down gamble, kept them from completely coming back. And, despite flashes here and there, execution in timely moments was very much lacking for the Commanders. Jumping into some of these player report cards for the players throughout the game to see how we can highlight some of these performances and throw shout-outs or shade to whoever it applies to. Starting off with Dak Prescott, Cowboys quarterback, I'm gonna give him an A-. He went 19 out of 37 for 307 yards. That's crazy. And 2 touchdowns. You need to work on the accuracy. Controlled by early drives and found big plays, but late third quarter efficiency dipped. But overall, the leadership elevated the offense. Did what he needed to do, so I'm not going to take away from it. Kept them ahead, and ultimately they won the game. Shout out to Malik Davis, man. Cowboys running back. We're going to give him an A. 103 rushing yards. Like I said, had a ground balance that kept drives alive and protected Prescott, on a cold and windy afternoon. You got to have that balance, keep that defense on its toes. So, keep the pressure off your quarterback with a decent run game. CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys wide receiver, gonna give him a B+. He had key early explosive plays. He was a little quieter later in the game, but he was still one of Dallas's top threat and most reliable pass catcher throughout the bout. KaVontae Turpin, Cowboys wide receiver, gonna give him an A-. He had a few highlight reel plays, including the game-stretching big game that flipped momentum in the game. And Brandon Aubrey, the Cowboys kicker, of course, coming through as he always do with the B plus 3 for 4 field goals, including the late dagger that sealed possession and the clock. And for the offensive line of the boys, we'll give them a B minus. They opened up holes for rushing success, but gave up some pressure on the longer downs throughout the game. And the defense from the front seven of Dallas, I'm gonna give them a B because they had early pressure that helped stall some of the drives. But the second half saw more of the yards allowed, but they had some good stops late in the contest that ultimately helped keep them in the position to win the game. As far as the secondary, I'm gonna give them a C plus because they allowed sustained drives and chunk plays in the third and fourth quarter, which was putting Washington in position to potentially take the game back or take the lead. Sometimes you want to win the game, but you want to watch how your team handles the management of the game itself, as far as do you get ahead early and maintain that distance? Do you it's kind of what happened with like the Lions and kind of what they've been going through, especially in that Steelers game. Like, it ended with the call or whatnot, like you shouldn't have been in a position to have to need that to win. Like teams that have to come down, and I get it, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen, but I mean, ideally, this is what you want to aim for these reasons. It worked out in their favor this time. Next time it may not. And these are the type of things you want to see your team try to build and work on throughout the offseason to see if they're addressing the things that will keep them more competitive as other teams around the league continue to do the same. Looking at Josh Johnson from the Commanders quarterback, we'll give him a B. He went 15 for 23 for 198 yards. He didn't get a tug, but hey, he had veteran poise under pressure, and he helped extend some of the plays, but it just wasn't enough to flip the script. Jacory Krosky, Commanders, we won't give him an A+, man. He had 105 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. He was a constant threat throughout the whole game, especially in the second half. Scary Terry McLaurin, we'll give him a B, man. He was a consistent outside threat throughout the contest, and he helped keep a few drives alive that they needed to keep alive to stay competitive in this game. The Commanders' offensive line, we'll give him a C. They ran pretty well later, but initially, allowed pressure and disrupted the rhythm that they had going on. And as far as the defense from the Commanders, they broke down pretty early on some of the big plays that Dallas was able to, force on the uphill grind. But they held up a little tougher later as the contest went along. So I'll bounce them out at a C for what they were able to do. Next, jumping into some of these predictive implications and what's next, we're going to see what that looks like, because as Dallas continues to try to rebuild, all right, now after this game, they just improved to 7-8-1, keeping them in position to avoid a losing season. The victory injects late morale and could impact momentum heading into Week 18. Dak continues to drive this team with poise. His ability to sustain drives and distribute to playmakers gives Dallas a clear offensive identity for sure. We know what Dak can do, how he can handle. He's a passer. The offense is potent. Even potent offenses sometimes meet formidable opponents, which they have, but it's the defense that have ultimately let Dallas down this year. Looking at the offense in itself, the balanced effort suggests that Dallas isn't one-dimensional. A dangerous combination if they maintain average production going into Week 18. And while I will give it to Washington, they show heart. And honestly, there was just a good sleeper team. And when Jaden Daniels get healthy, they can come back and they can build around some of those pieces in the offseason. I think they can get back to competitive, especially in the NFC East, because they are definitely going to need to be. But they show heart, you know what I'm saying? Like, despite a disappointing season at 4-12, the Commanders, they finished with flashes that could be looked at as foundational for youth, especially when Krosky married showing explosive talent. So that's good things you want to build off of. And I want to say Johnny Newman. I want to say it's a guy on the defensive line that I think he's showing up and showing out. He's coming up and showing hope for a good defense that they can build around. Honestly, I think Dan Quinn will be able to get them. They get Jaden back, work on their offensive line. A couple other weapons, maybe a good slot receiver. They have some building to do, but nonetheless, I'm not going to take away from what they do because they did show up regardless of their position or record on the season. But both teams' defenses ultimately will need, schematic adjustments throughout the offseason. Dallas, needs to tighten the early breakdowns, and Washington needs to improve on the fundamentals. But neither Cowboys nor Commanders, is playoff bound. But Dallas avoided dropping to 79 by securing this divisional win, meaningful for pride and trajectory. And hey, I'll take it if that's where we're at. But what's left for both of these teams moving forward? Dallas's remaining schedule, they play the Giants at home next week, and then their offseason begins, and here we go. I mean, the Giants have struggled this season, making them pretty much, this should be a winnable game for the Cowboys team that needs just one more victory to finish at 8-1. I mean, whatever that's worth, Dallas's offensive balance and key rushing success should carry over if they keep turnovers low and they can sustain early on drives. A strong showing versus New York would salvage a winning feeling, at least, and set a positive tone going into the offseason, especially with the potential offseason evaluation of the roster's core under Prescott and Schottenheimer. Okay. They have a high win probability here, but the Cowboys have statistical advantages offensively and defensive improvements versus a weaker Giants roster. When I look at the Commanders and how they're moving forward on their remaining schedule, we all know they play the Birds next week at Philly. I believe. Yeah, no, they play Philly. I'm not sure where they play, man, but nonetheless, they play the Birds. And then their offseason begins. So I guess they're going to take it. They're going to wrap up week 18 at home against the Birds, sitting on a 4-12 record, and with the offensive line injuries, I mean the Commanders are poised to lose this last game. But hey, momentum from Week 17's late rally could keep things competitive at least. I mean, I wouldn't take that from them. But Philly owns the division yet again, and Washington is showing some flashes. Got some competitive pieces popping up. They haven't completely flamed out here as of late, but this game for them would be more likely a developmental finish rather than them trying to go out here and pull off a surprise upset. But some of these performances could influence some of the draft position and some of their offseason evaluations, especially for some of the younger backs and receivers that they have on the roster. Though I would expect Washington to try their best to keep it competitive, but of course, nonetheless, they're the underdog. Use this game to just continue to evaluate the talent, the roster, and see what they need to do moving forward into the off season. And it's okay. That's cool. Look, this Christmas Day duel delivered grit, drama, the kind of finish that makes division rivalries timeless. Dallas's victory wasn't elegant, but it was essential. A hard-earned holiday gift to a fan base that needed one. Washington fought with heart and showcased future playmakers, but Cowboys' combination of Prescott's calm command and a resurgent rushing attack proved enough to steal the day. Coming down the stretch, both teams spotlighted needed adjustments. Dallas to sustain early consistency, Washington to build a blueprint for a return to respectability, which I think they will get to and ultimately achieve. Nonetheless, this was a great game as usual. I was glad to have watched it as I do all the other games that I watch. And I look forward to the next one and us getting back into the offseason and all this next year. And look, stay tuned, man. Look, we got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to be getting crazy in the offseason. We're gonna really be cranking this thing up, getting ready for round two. This wasn't our best year, but it's a year. We're here. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep grinding, and we're going to keep fighting. We're going to get there. We're going to get you on the show, and there's a lot of things that we're going to get going. We're going to be here. Life's just been lifing, but we won't let it beat us, and that's fine. So we're going to keep going, y'all. We got this. Appreciate you for coming through, hanging out with the crew. But look, that's another one in the books from Club32. Look, whether you cheered or choked this week, we break it down the only way we know how. We keep it raw, real, no fluff, no filters. Thank you for coming through and rocking out with Club 32, where fans talk about the game, and you can come on here and do the same. If you want to get on the show, just email us at club32gp@gmail.com, subject line Club 32 guest. Make sure to follow us on all social platforms at Club 32GP, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Stay connected with the club for all of our NFL breakdancing for your chance to be a guest and represent your squad the way they're meant to be represented. Until next time, it's been real, and good luck with your team, because we're going to talk about them too. Appreciate you. Be safe. We out.